You meet her in the most ordinary place, a family gathering, a workplace meeting, a friend's birthday dinner, and something subtle shifts in the room. She is not loud, not flirty, not trying to win people over. She just sits there, present, quiet, and strangely untouchable. Here is the question most people have never dared to ask themselves. What if you are not unsettled by her silence because she is cold, but because you cannot control how you appear in her eyes? Because there are empathetic women who keep no close circle, avoid group chats, and rarely perform warmth on demand. The warning is not that they are dangerous. The warning is that they are difficult to manipulate, not through aggression, but through the absence of emotional hooks. Their silence makes a room slow down because it removes the usual cues people use to feel in control: laughter on command, instant reassurance, quick agreement, and constant friendliness. In real life, it can feel almost eerie. You tell a story, and you expect the usual social signals, the nodding, the soft interruptions, the sympathetic smile that proves you are being received. But she just listens, not blankly, deeply. You feel watched, not judged, but seen, as if her attention is a clean mirror. And suddenly, your nervous system starts searching for something to grab. You might overshare to force closeness. You might joke to pull a reaction. You might compliment her to earn warmth back. You might test her with a personal question, just to see if she will open up. And when she does not perform the way you expect, you feel a quiet panic you cannot explain, like your usual social tools are not working. That is why people misunderstand women like her. Some call her arrogant, some call her guarded, some call her antisocial. But often the truth is simpler and more confronting. She is not playing the emotional marketplace anymore. She is not trading her nervous system for belonging. She is not offering instant access to her inner world just to make others comfortable. And for the people who rely on emotional pressure, guilt, or constant rapport to feel secure, her presence feels like a threat. So, if you ever meet a woman like this, and you feel that discomfort rise, do something small instead of judging her. Pause for 10 seconds and ask yourself one clean question. Am I afraid she is cold, or am I afraid I cannot manage how she sees me? That question alone can expose your own hidden patterns, the need to be liked, the need to be in control, the fear of being truly seen without a script. And if you want to approach her in a way that does not push or test her, use a sentence that respects her tempo. I respect your pace. No pressure, because to understand why she became a loner, you have to go back to the beginning. She used to carry everyone. Before she became quiet, she was the one everyone ran to when life got messy. Not because she advertised herself as the healer, but because people could feel it. She had that kind of presence that makes others exhale. She listened without flinching. She held secrets without gossip. She could sit in someone's chaos and make it feel less frightening. And slowly, without anyone naming it, she became the emotional dumping ground. You have seen this woman. She is the friend in the group who can sense tension before a single sentence turns sharp. At dinners, she changes the subject at the exact moment a joke becomes cruel. In group chats, she responds first when someone is upset, sending paragraphs of comfort while others drop a heart emoji and disappear. She is the one who stays on the phone until midnight, calming a friend through a breakup, then wakes up early for work and pretends she is fine. She is the one who remembers everyone's triggers, everyone's family history, and everyone's wounds, and she edits her own truth around them like she is walking through a room full of fragile glass. In families, she becomes the daughter who keeps the house emotionally stable. She learns to read the mood of a parent the way sailors read the sky. If a voice gets quiet, she tightens. If footsteps get heavy, she starts cleaning or performing goodness to prevent the storm. She learns to mediate between adults who refuse to speak directly. She becomes the translator of feelings. He did not mean it. She is under stress. Just let it go. When arguments end, she carries the aftermath in her body, the tight throat, the headache, the racing heart, the strange fatigue that hits after everyone else has moved on. At work, she becomes the coworker who fixes the vibe. She senses when a meeting is turning hostile and jumps in with humor to soften it. She is the one who notices a colleague is withdrawn and checks on them privately. She is the one who absorbs negativity so the team can function. Then she goes home drained, staring at the ceiling, wondering why her chest feels heavy when nothing bad happened. The truth is, something did happen. Her nervous system served as the emotional landfill for other people's unprocessed tension. This is how kindness turns into duty, and duty turns into exhaustion. The empath loner did not withdraw because she hates people. She withdrew because she finally realized she was being used as a place for others to unload what they refused to hold themselves. Over time, she stopped feeling like a person and started feeling like a function. And Jung would recognize what happens next. When the psyche is forced to play the same role for too long, it protects itself. It does not always explode. Sometimes it simply closes the gates. If you want to understand this pattern in your own life, take 2 minutes and do a simple energy audit. Think of 3 people you interact with regularly. Ask yourself, who makes me feel like I must explain myself to be accepted? Who makes me feel guilty for having boundaries? Who leaves me feeling lighter after I talk, like my voice actually has space in the relationship? These questions are not about judging anyone. They are about noticing the direction of energy, whether you leave interactions feeling expanded or reduced. Then try one small action today. In one conversation, do not rescue. Do not soften the truth. Do not over-explain. Let a pause exist without filling it. Let someone carry their own emotion without you lifting it for them. Watch how your body feels when you stop managing the air, because when someone carries too much for too long, they do not collapse. They contract to survive. One day, she answers the way she always has, quickly, kindly, with paragraphs that try to land perfectly. The next day, she does something that feels almost shocking to people who are used to her softness. She goes quiet, not as punishment, not as a power move. Her nervous system simply stops volunteering for the role of the one who understands. You can see this turning point in the smallest, most ordinary scenes. A group chat blows up over a misunderstanding, and everyone waits for her to smooth it out, to send the "let's all calm down" message, to translate the tone, to remind people of each other's good intentions. But this time, she reads it and sets the phone down. A family member sends a long text full of guilt, and she does not write a long defense explaining her heart, her intentions, her exhaustion. She does not rush to prove she is still good. At work, someone makes a passive comment in a meeting, and she does not jump in with humor to soften the edge. She lets the silence sit there like a candle in the middle of the room, exposing what everyone tries to hide. This is what people misunderstand. They think she became cold, when what actually happened is that she became clear. Because an empath who has spent years over-explaining often does it for one reason. She is trying to prevent conflict by making herself understandable, harmless, and easy to digest. She believes that if she can just find the right words, nobody will be upset, nobody will leave, nobody will attack. But at some point, the psyche realizes a painful truth. If you have to constantly explain your humanity to be treated with basic respect, you are not in a safe bond. You are negotiating for permission to exist. So she stops defending herself. She stops apologizing for taking space. She stops chasing validation in rooms that only reward her when she is useful. And you can feel it when it happens, because the whole system around her gets restless. Yesterday, she was responsive. Today, she is quiet, not cruel, just done explaining. The people who benefited from her emotional labor start to act confused. Are you okay? Why are you being weird? Did I do something? The questions sound caring, but underneath them is often something else, a subtle demand to return to the old version of herself. This is where a simple practice becomes a lifeline. She gives herself a 24-hour pause, not to play games, but to protect her clarity. She does not reply instantly. She does not apologize too fast. She does not write long explanations that drain her just to keep someone comfortable. She lets the first wave pass, the wave that is usually fear. Fear of being disliked, fear of being misunderstood, fear of being called selfish. And when she finally speaks, it comes from a steadier place. I'll respond when I'm clear. If that feels hard, start smaller. Set a 30-minute delay before replying to anyone who spikes your anxiety. Not forever, not to punish, just long enough to notice what is happening inside you. Notice how quickly your body wants to rescue. Notice how fast your mind starts drafting the perfect paragraph to prevent someone's reaction. In that half hour, ask yourself, do I want to be understood or do I want to be safe? Because those are not always the same thing. And then comes the moment that changes the whole dynamic. When she steps back, something unsettling happens. People lose the ability to control her. The first thing people notice is not her distance, it is their own discomfort. When she stops chasing understanding, the old buttons stop working, and suddenly the people around her feel strangely powerless. Not because she is harsh, not because she is superior, but because she no longer reacts on cue. She does not rush to soothe. She does not scramble to fix a mood. She does not panic when someone withdraws affection. It is like trying to pull a string and realizing it is not attached to anything anymore. This is why she becomes dangerous to projections in the simplest way. She is no longer hooked by guilt, tests, silent treatment, or emotional bait. Think of how often relationships run on little invisible games. Someone gets quiet to see if you will chase. Someone gives you a cold tone to see if you will apologize. Someone says, "Do what you want," but they mean, "Do what I want." Someone creates drama not because they love conflict, but because conflict keeps them in control of attention. For years, the empath woman fed these loops without realizing it, because she cared, because she was sensitive, because she believed love meant effort. But when she stops needing to be understood, manipulation stops working. You can watch the shift happen in real time. A friend posts a passive comment online meant to provoke a reaction, and she does not respond. A family member drops a guilt line like, "I guess you do not care about us anymore," and she does not explain herself for 20 minutes. A coworker tries to pull her into side drama. "Did you hear what she said about you?" And she does not bite. She smiles calmly and changes the subject, or she says nothing at all. And the person who expected a predictable reaction starts to get irritated. Because in many systems, irritation is what happens when control is slipping. This is also why some people suddenly label her as cold the moment she becomes clear. They were not actually upset by her silence. They were upset that the silence no longer gives them leverage. And once you see that, you start noticing a pattern that applies far beyond her. People who rely on emotional pressure often become uneasy around anyone who will not feed the loop, because loops require participation. Drama requires an audience, guilt requires a receiver. Silent treatment requires a chaser. When she refuses the role, the game collapses. Here are 3 signs you are being pulled into an emotional game, whether with family, friends, or even a romantic partner. First, you feel guilty even when you did nothing wrong. You replay your words, scan your tone, and still cannot find the crime, but you feel sentenced anyway. Second, you feel pressured to prove your love or loyalty, not through mutual care, but through tests, demands, urgency, or emotional ultimatums. Third, you get trapped in endless explaining. No matter how clearly you speak, they keep twisting, misunderstanding, or moving the goalposts until your mind is exhausted and your dignity starts shrinking. This is where clean boundaries become sacred. Not long speeches, not emotional essays, clean lines. I'm not available for guilt conversations. We can talk when it's respectful. I won't chase clarity. I choose it. Notice what these sentences do. They do not attack. They do not debate. They simply remove your energy from the manipulation channel. And that is what makes her so difficult to control. She is not fighting. She is no longer participating. But withdrawal is not the destination. The next step is loyalty to truth, not to roles. She starts noticing the moment she leaves a conversation, feeling smaller. Not offended, not angry, just subtly reduced, like her spirit had to fold itself to fit the room. For years, she ignored that signal because she was trained to prioritize harmony, and harmony often demanded her silence. But now the signal becomes impossible to ignore. It shows up in her body first. A tight throat when she says yes and means no. A heavy stomach when she agrees to plans she does not want. A drained, foggy feeling after spending time with people who only feel safe when she is agreeable. This is where Jung comes alive, not as a theory, but as a turning point. She begins shifting from, "What do people need from me?" to "What is true for me?" Individuation is not loneliness for the sake of being different. It is the slow return to a center. It is when you stop living as a function of the collective and start living as a person with an inner axis. She realizes, with a kind of quiet grief, how often her yes was fear in a polite dress. Fear of being disliked, fear of being called selfish, fear of conflict, fear of disappointing people who already expected her to be easy. Look at how this plays out in ordinary life. A friend invites her to something she does not want to attend. In the past, she would force a smile, show up, and call it loyalty. Now she notices the truth. She does not actually want to go, and forcing herself will not make her a better person. A family member calls with a crisis that is not truly an emergency, but it has the familiar tone that says, "Drop everything and save me." In the past, she would rush, then feel resentment later and blame herself for resenting. Now she notices the pattern. The urgency is a hook, not love. At work, someone asks her to take on extra tasks because she is so reliable. In the past, she would say yes, then stay late, then silently burn out. Now she hears the subtext. Reliable has been used as a leash, and when she stops, smiling through the pressure, something in her life begins to rearrange. This is not selfishness, it is integrity. It is the decision to stop betraying her real feelings for the comfort of others. And the betrayal is not always dramatic. Sometimes it is just a laugh she forces when something hurts. Sometimes it is a yes she gives when her whole body wants to say no. Sometimes it is staying quiet in a conversation where her truth matters. She begins to see that every small self-betrayal trains the psyche to abandon itself, and every small act of truth trains the psyche to trust itself again. A simple practice helps her build that trust. For 7 days, she writes one line each day, like a private confession that no one else needs to approve. Where did I betray my real feeling today? One line is enough, not an essay, just a clear mirror. I said yes when I meant no. I smiled when I felt hurt. I answered immediately out of anxiety. I stayed silent to keep the peace. Over time, those lines become a map of her patterns, and patterns lose power when they are seen. Then she adds one question before she agrees to anything. Does this make me feel lighter or heavier? This is not mystical. It is a nervous system truth. Lighter often means aligned, honest, and clean. Heavier often means obligation, fear, or performance. And when she is unsure, she practices a small sentence that protects her center without drama. Let me think about it. That sentence alone changes everything, because it breaks the spell of instant compliance. And as she chooses herself, something else becomes clear. The people who loved her role will resist. The people who love her truth will adjust. The room will change. Some doors will close, some will open. And she will realize something she never understood when she was younger. Choosing yourself does not mean rejecting the world. It means finally meeting it as a whole person. But there is a thin line. Solitude can heal, or it can become armor. At first, solitude feels like relief, like finally taking off a coat you have worn for decades. The phone is quiet. The group chat drama cannot reach you. No one is asking you to explain your tone, your boundaries, your choices. You can breathe again. And for a while it truly is healing, because after years of carrying people, your nervous system needs silence the way dry ground needs rain. But there is a hard turn that many empathetic women do not notice until it is already happening. Solitude can quietly shift from medicine to armor. It starts innocently. You stop answering invitations because you are tired. You keep your weekends empty because peace feels sacred. You tell yourself you are protecting your energy, and you are. Yet slowly the protection becomes a wall. You do not miss people, but you also do not feel joy. You are not angry, just flat. Your favorite music plays, and it does not move you the way it used to. A beautiful sunset looks like a picture instead of a moment. You laugh, but the laugh feels thin, like it did not come from deep inside. Real life has a certain look when solitude becomes exile. You cancel plans and feel nothing, not relief, not guilt, just emptiness. Someone texts, "How are you?" and you stare at the screen like replying requires a language you no longer speak. You scroll social media and feel disconnected from everything, not jealous, not bitter, just distant, like you are watching life through thick glass. Even your home begins to feel too quiet, but the idea of being with people feels exhausting, not because they are bad, but because your nervous system has learned that closeness equals extraction. Jung would say, this is what happens when the psyche protects itself too well. The door that keeps danger out can also keep nourishment out. The same walls that block manipulation can block intimacy. And when that happens, the inner world can freeze, not dramatically, not with tears, but with numbness. It is a survival strategy that looks like strength from the outside. No one can hurt you anymore, but no one can reach you anymore. If you are not sure whether your solitude is alive or armored, try a simple 2-minute check with yourself. Do you still dream, not just at night, but in the sense that your future still feels possible and colorful? Do you still feel moved by a real story, music, or beauty, or do things pass through you without leaving a mark? And when you are alone, do you feel warm, like you are resting in yourself, or do you feel only empty, like you are hiding from life? Answer honestly, because the point is not to judge yourself. The point is to notice where you are. If the answers lean toward emptiness, the solution is not forcing yourself into noisy crowds or pretending you are fine. The solution is a gentle return, structured and safe. Choose one safe person, not 10, just one. Someone who does not drain you, someone who does not require you to perform. Choose one structured activity, something with a clear beginning and end, like a class, a walk group, a volunteer shift, a book club, or even a weekly coffee you can leave after 30 minutes. And choose one rule that protects you without shame. If you feel overwhelmed, you are allowed to leave. No long explanations, no apologies for taking care of your nervous system. Because the goal is not to become social again, the goal is to become reachable again, to yourself first, and then to life. Solitude is meant to be a sanctuary, not a prison. And when solitude is alive, she does return to the world, but only with a different standard. If you feel uneasy around a quiet empath loner, it is worth asking why. She did not insult you. She did not compete with you. She did not demand anything. She simply refused to perform. And that refusal can feel like a spotlight because it exposes the part of us that depends on social control to feel safe. Her silence becomes a mirror. It reveals the persona, the version of you that wants to be liked, the part that measures your worth through reactions, the hidden hunger to manage how you are perceived. In Jung's language, she triggers the mask, not because she is cruel, but because she is not available for the usual dance. This is why the warning is not truly about her. It is about what she exposes in you. In real life, you might notice your mind trying to pull her back into a role. You may overtalk to fill the space, hoping she will soften. You may test her with a personal question, hoping she will prove she trusts you. You may interpret her calm as rejection because you are used to closeness being loud. You may even feel irritated without knowing why, simply because your usual tactics cannot hook her. That discomfort is information. It shows where you attach out of fear instead of truth. If you are the empath loner, your lesson is not to disappear forever. Your lesson is to keep one boundary this week without a long explanation. Pick one. Maybe it is not replying immediately. Maybe it is leaving early when your body says it is too much. Maybe it is declining guilt disguised as concern. Let your no be simple. Let your silence be clean. You are allowed to protect your nervous system without turning your life into a courtroom. And if you want to be close to her, understand this. She is not impressed by intensity. She is reassured by respect. Follow the 3 no's. No forcing openness, no testing, love, no guilt. If you want trust, move slowly. Let consistency speak. Do not rush her into intimacy just to calm your own anxiety. The right approach is not pressure, it is patience. Because the deepest truth is this: a loner empath is not a warning sign of danger. She is a warning sign of awareness. She shows you who you are when you cannot manage the room. She reveals whether your connection is real or just a performance you use to feel secure. Now, comment on one word, awake, or numb, and I will break down the Jungian pattern for both in the next video. If this touched something sacred inside you, don't let it fade into silence. Like this video, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Your presence here is not just support, it's resonance. And if you feel moved to give back, your donation becomes a quiet but powerful gesture that helps keep this light alive for others still walking in the dark.